Aaron trudged across the empty dunes of Javona Prime, footsteps sinking into hot, shifting sands that stretched farther than his tired eyes could see. His canteen hung empty at his side, and with each step his throat felt tighter, as if a dry iron band squeezed around it. He wiped the sweat from his brow and let his pack slip from his aching shoulders. The twin suns overhead beat down without mercy, turning the sky into a harsh, bleached canvas. Aaron's heart pounded with exhaustion. In fear, weeks had passed since his ship's engine failed, forcing him to make an emergency landing in this desolate wasteland. He had rigged a makeshift shelter from scraps of metal, and had rationed water so carefully that now he feared even the memory of cool liquid. Yet something drove him onward, a faint signal, pulsing from a distant ridge, promising rescue or at least refuge. He rose unsteadily and held the small device before him. Its red light blinked in rhythmic hope, guiding him toward a shimmering formation of crystal spires that rose like broken pillars from the sand. Aaron pressed forward as the dunes gave way to hard, glassy ground. He reached the base of the largest spire and found a hollow ring of stone that glowed faintly in the late afternoon light. With trembling hands, he pulled the last trickle of water from his canteen, savoring its cold kiss on his parched lips. The relief was instant, rich with life, and for a moment he closed his eyes and let his body rest. When he opened them again, a slender figure stood just beyond the glowing ring. She was tall and graceful, her skin a pale opal that caught the dying rays of the suns and turned them into ribbons of silver and blue. Her eyes were large and liquid, like polished gemstones reflecting the empty horizon. Aaron froze, half in wonder and half in alarm. He had heard rumors of the planet's secret guardians, but he had never believed in unseen watchers. Yet here she was, her soft figure framed against the crystal spire, silent and still as the stones. His voice came out rough as gravel. "Hello?" He held up the canteen. "You want some?" In his culture, offering water to a stranger was an act of simple kindness. He had no idea what it meant to her. The alien woman tilted her head, her eyes widening with what looked like longing. She took a hesitant step forward and reached out a delicate hand. Aaron held the canteen steady and tilted it. A few precious drops slid down into her open palm. Her skin lit up with renewed glow, and she inhaled sharply, as if tasting magic itself. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes, and she bowed deeply, her voice spilling out in a soft musical whisper that Aaron did not understand. Then she pressed her palms to her heart, a gesture of deep thanks and devotion. Aaron felt a stir of warmth in his chest. He realized that for her people, the gift of water was sacred. It carried a meaning far greater than simple survival. It was a bond of life and loyalty, a promise of love that could never be broken. As dusk settled across the dunes, Aaron and the alien woman, whom he would soon learn was named Kelia, sat together beneath the soaring spire. He passed her the empty canteen, and she cradled it like a precious relic. In the soft glow of the crystal, they shared a silent moment that bridged their worlds. He felt a spark of hope light inside him for the first time in weeks. He no longer felt alone. Something had watched over him, and as the stars appeared in the lavender sky, Aaron understood that this unexpected meeting might be the first step toward rescue. Or perhaps toward a new beginning he had never imagined. Kelia rose with the first pale light of Javona Prime's twin suns, her movements careful and tender. Aaron lay on a bed of soft woven grasses inside a shallow cave at the base of the crystal spire. His breathing was even and slow-proof that water and rest had restored him more than he knew. Above him, the ceiling of the cave dripped with faintly glowing mineral droplets that looked like stars fallen from the sky. Kelia knelt beside him, her opal skin reflecting the gentle luminescence. She brushed a stray lock of dark hair from his forehead and offered him another sip from the canteen, her eyes shining with something deeper than gratitude. Aaron stirred and opened his eyes. For a moment he was disoriented. Then he remembered the journey, the crystal spire, and the strange, beautiful woman who had saved him. He swallowed and took the canteen. "Thank you," he said softly, surprised at how fragile his voice sounded. He looked up into her large gemstone eyes. "Aaron," he added, Kellia's lips curved into a small, shy smile. She dipped her head in a graceful bow. Though she spoke no word, Aaron understood. The warmth in her gaze felt like the embrace of an old friend. She pointed to herself and then to him, repeating Kalia, as though drawing music from her breath. Aaron nodded and replied, "I'm Aaron." She clapped her hands together lightly, then reached toward his injured ankle, which bore a long, shallow cut from his fall the day before. Aaron tensed, expecting pain. But Kellia produced a soft poultice made of crushed crystal fibers. In green leaves, she pressed it gently against the wound. The bitter scent stung his nose, but as the poultice warmed, he felt a soothing calm wash over him. Kellia hummed a soft tune as she worked an ethereal melody that wove through the cave like a comforting spell. When she finished, Kellia rose and offered him her hand. Aaron accepted, testing at first, then allowing himself to be guided to his feet. His legs wobbled at first, but her steady grip gave him confidence. He realized that she intended to accompany him somewhere, though he did not yet know where. Outside the cave, the dunes glowed rosy under the morning sun. Kellia led Aaron away from the crystal spire and down a winding path of polished stone, one that Aaron had not noticed on his first desperate search for water. The path opened onto a valley lush with strange silver-leaved plants and shallow pools of shimmering liquid. Ah! Aaron's eyes widened. He had thought the planet dead, but here was life in quiet abundance. As they walked, Kellia gathered handfuls of the leaves and crushed them between her fingers, creating more healing poultice. She offered some to Aaron, but he shook his head and smiled. "Keep my own," he said, patting his canteen. Kellia's face fell for a moment, her brow furrowed and worried. Then she smiled again more gently. Aaron studied Kellia as she moved. Her every step seemed an expression of gentle grace. He felt a strange flutter in his chest, a mix of curiosity, and something new he could not yet name. He realized she believed that offering water was like offering one's heart. In her culture, a gift of water bound two souls together. Each drop was like a promise, and every promise was woven into song. Kellia paused at the edge of a broad clearing and turned to Aaron. She spread her arms wide, as though summoning him forward, and her voice rose in her musical language. Though he understood none of the words, the gesture felt like an invitation. Aaron stepped into the clearing and saw, carved into the living rock, a massive figure holding a vessel from which water poured in an endless cascade. Statues and murals around the clearing depicted a water-bearer tall, kind-eyed, and crowned in water lily, bringing life to barren lands and healing broken hearts. Kellia stared at the carvings with reverent awe, then turned to Aaron. She pressed her palms to her chest, bowed, and extended her hand toward him. It was a quiet declaration. "You are my water-bearer." Aaron's breath caught. He raised his own hand and gently touched hers. Though he had offered water simply to save a life, he now understood the depth of her belief. He felt compassion and a newfound duty to honor her trust. As the suns climbed higher, Aaron and Kellia stood together in the clearing, two beings from different worlds joined by a single miraculous gift. In that moment, Aaron knew his journey had changed forever, not just from survival to rescue, but into something far more beautiful, the promise of friendship, trust, and perhaps a deeper bond he could never have imagined under the harsh sands of Javona Prime. Aaron woke before dawn in the soft cradle of Kellia's arms, the pale light of Javona Prime revealing a narrow path winding through silver-leaved trees. He rose quietly so as not to disturb her. Kellia stretched and offered him water in a small, carved cup, her eyes bright with purpose. Aaron drank deeply, feeling warmth seep into his bones. He realized that this morning marked their journey to her people's settlement, a place that might hold rescue, or at least answers. They walked, side by side, Kellia's fingers brushing his lightly as they passed pools of glowing liquid. Aaron noticed how every creature seemed to watch them with curiosity. A flock of winged creatures folded their silvery wings, and small, six-legged animals scurried away in respectful silence. Kellia paused often, touching the plants and whispering, thanks in her soft tongue. Aaron smiled at her devotion, understanding now that for her, gratitude was woven into every breath. After an hour, they reached a wide valley surrounded by low hills. In the center stood a cluster of dome-shaped homes built from the same crystal that formed the spire. Warm lights glowed from their windows, and a gentle hum of voices filled the air. Kelly's hand tightened around Aaron's as they entered. He felt both awe and nervousness. She led him through the main square, where statues of the water-bearer held vessels high above carved benches. Each statue's face looked kind, welcoming strangers with open arms. As they passed, a group of villagers approached. Tall and graceful like Kelia, they wore robes of pale blue that shimmered as they moved. Their leader, an elder with silver hair and deep-set eyes, bowed to Aaron. Though the elder did not speak his language, his gesture was clear: respect and gratitude for saving one of their own. Kelia stepped forward, explaining in her musical words while moving her hands in gentle signs. Aaron watched her with admiration. Her voice carried emotion as if every word was a gift. The elder smiled and placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder. Then he pointed to a large building at the far end of the square, its entrance framed by carved water lilies. Kelia nodded and guided Aaron inside. The hall was circular, with a shallow pool in the center reflecting light from a crystal chandelier. Above, around the walls, murals showed the history of Kelia's people, their first discovery of water in the desert, the founding of their peaceful homes, and legends of the water-bearer who brought unity and hope. Aaron felt a lump in his throat. He had come looking for rescue, but he had found something deeper, a people whose every act of life and faith was tied to water. He remembered how dry his own world often felt, so distant from simple kindness. He looked at Kelia, her hand resting on his, and felt a surge of responsibility. He knew he could not abandon her trust. He straightened and bowed his head slightly. Mirroring the respect he had seen, the elder spoke again. And this time Aaron caught a few words: water, life, guest. He smiled and replied with the few words he had learned: thank you. The villagers clapped softly, and Kelia's cheeks glowed. Aaron realized that language was only part of communication. Shared feelings could bridge worlds more surely than words. As the suns climbed overhead, the elder led Aaron and Kelia to a small courtyard filled with blossoming crystal flowers. Here Kelia offered water again, this time from a larger vessel, and Aaron poured some back. Their eyes met, and no words were needed. In that simple exchange, they sealed a bond of mutual respect and hope. Aaron felt his heart swell with purpose. He would honor her belief and protect this fragile friendship as if it were the most precious gift in the galaxy. Aaron awakened to the soft song of water trickling nearby. He stood and followed the sound through a narrow corridor of living rock. The walls glowed faintly, guiding him to a hidden grotto where water fell in a gentle arc into a crystal clear pool. Kelia waited at the edge, her opal skin reflecting the falls like a mirror. She smiled and beckoned him closer. Aaron felt his chest tighten with awe, knelt beside her, letting the cool mist brush his face. She offered him a carved bowl. Filled with water drawn from the pool, Aaron lifted it to his lips. The water was the purest he had ever tasted, sweet, light, and full of life. He closed his eyes, savoring each drop. When he opened them, Kelia's eyes shone with tears of joy. She pressed her hand to her heart and bowed her head. In her culture, sharing this sacred water was a bond deeper than any promise. Aaron reached out and gently touched her hand. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice trembled with emotion he did not fully understand. Kelia's smile grew, and she led him to a circle of low stones around the pool. She sat, patting the stone beside her. Aaron joined her, and together they stared into the dancing reflections of light on the water. Around them, the cave was silent, except for the soft chorus of dripping mineral beads overhead. After a moment, Kelia spoke in her melodic tongue. Aaron listened, catching bits of words he had learned. Life, gift, heart, nodded, and she giggled softly. The sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Then she picked up a small, leaf-wrapped bundle and handed it to him. Inside were tiny, sweet fruits he had never seen. took one and bit into it. The taste was tart and bright, and as the juices ran down his chin, he realized he had never felt so alive. Kelia watched him with a shy delight. She poured more water into the bowl and offered it again. Aaron drank, smiling at her. He felt lightness in his limbs, as if the water and fruit had filled him with energy and hope. He looked at her and saw that she believed everything he did. In this moment was proof of his love, proof of the love potion she thought he had given. His heart swelled with affection, but also with a gentle worry. He stood and turned to the water pool. Cupping his hands to collect more water, Kelia watched him closely. He knelt and, in a simple earth's gesture, splashed water across his face and hands. Then he looked at Kelia and did the same for her, gently brushing water across her cheeks. She gasped softly as each drop landed, and her cheeks glowed brighter. Aaron smiled. He saw that, for her, this small act carried great meaning. As they rose, the sound of soft voices echoed from deeper in the grotto. A group of Kelia's people entered, moving in a slow ritual dance. They wore robes of pale blue and carried lamps made from glowing crystals. At their center walked the elder, who nodded in greeting to Aaron. Kelia squeezed Aaron's hand. He bowed his head in respect and stepped forward to join the circle. Together, they moved around the pool, following the gentle steps of the dancers. Aaron felt his heart beat in time with the quiet drum of the ritual. Each step, each turn, felt like a promise of unity. Kelia stayed close at his side, her hand never leaving his. In that moment, under the pale light of the grotto, Aaron understood that their bond was becoming something more than rescue or friendship. It was a union of two worlds, joined by water, trust, and the quiet magic of believing in one another. Aaron woke before the twin suns rose, his heart fluttering with both excitement and nervousness. Last night's ritual had eased his fear, but today he would meet the wider community. Kelia found him outside her home, offering water in a small carved cup. He drank gratefully, tasting the morning's cool sweetness. She slipped her hand into his and led him down the stone path toward the settlement's main plaza. Every step felt heavy with meaning and promise. As they entered the plaza, Aaron's breath caught. The wide square was ringed with tall statues of the water bearer, each holding a vessel spilling crystal water. Behind them, colorful murals painted scenes of life, plants blooming, rivers flowing, families gathering. The air was filled with soft, music-gentle chimes and rhythmic drums. The people moved as one under the painting of their sacred hero. Aaron realized this was more than a home. It was a living story of hope. Villagers in pale blue robes gathered around him, their eyes shining with welcome. Kelia squeezed his hand and whispered in her soft language. Though Aaron understood little of her words, her voice carried warmth and relief. He raised his free hand in greeting, speaking the few words he had learned. "Hello?" The villagers echoed his greeting in soft unison, and a gentle wave of applause rippled through the crowd. Aaron bowed his head, moved by their kindness. An elder approached, carrying a large bowl of water adorned with floating flowers and glowing crystals. He placed it before Aaron and Kelia, then gestured for them to share. Kelia dipped her fingers and lifted water to her lips, her eyes meeting Aaron's with quiet joy. She then offered the bowl to him. Aaron hesitated, thinking how simple water could be to humans, yet here it was holy. He took a sip and felt energy surge through him, as if the water held every life on Javona Prime. After the sharing, Kelia guided Aaron toward a raised platform where 3 seats of carved stone waited. One was reserved for Kelia, one for the elder, and one empty his seat. Aaron's legs trembled as he climbed the steps. From below, villagers watched him with gentle smiles. He sat and felt the platform's cool surface beneath him. Kelia settled beside him and placed her hand on his. Aaron raised his free hand again, and in a steady voice he said, "Thank you." The crowd responded with soft cheers, echoing his gratitude. The elder spoke in the ancient tongue, his words flowing like water. Aaron could not understand, but he felt their meaning: welcome, trust, and celebration. Behind the speaker, the largest mural showed the water bearer offering water to a stranger, who then became a friend. Aaron realized they saw him as that stranger one who arrived with water and stayed with kindness. His chest swelled with emotion. He glanced at Kelia, whose eyes glowed with tears of happiness. As the ceremony ended, villagers brought fruits, herbs, and woven mats, creating a feast around the plaza. Aaron tasted sweet, chewy fruits that melted on his tongue and sipped warm tea infused with glowing crystals. Every flavor was new and wonderful. Beside him, Kelia laughed softly as she taught him how to eat with his fingers and offer thanks. Aaron felt at home in her world. Even as he longed for Earth, he realized he carried two homes now, in his heart and in his bond with Kelia. When the feast ended, Kelia led Aaron back toward the crystal spire. He carried a small vessel filled with water from the sacred pool. She explained, in gentle signs, that this water would help him on his journey home. Aaron nodded, touched by the gift. He placed a hand on her cheek and said, "I will return." In the simplest words he could find, Kelia's eyes shone, and she pressed the vessel into his hands. Together, they stood at the edge of the spire's glow, ready for whatever came next. Aaron rose before dawn, the sky still soft with the memory of night. He sat on the edge of the crystal spire's hollow ring, cradling the small vessel of sacred water in his hands. Every breath he took carried the scent of Kelia's whirlpool, mineral air, and the faint sweetness of glowing flowers. He traced the intricate carvings on the vessel with his fingertips, feeling the care that had gone into its making. In that quiet moment, Aaron felt a blend of joy and sorrow, joy for the friendship and honor he had found, and sorrow at the thought of leaving. Kelia appeared at the entrance of the spire, her translucent skin glowing in the morning light. Now she carried a woven satchel filled with dried fruits and crystal leaves for the journey. Aaron stood and bowed, then held out his arms. Kelia stepped forward, and they embraced, his arms around her narrow shoulders, hers around his waist. He felt her warmth and heard her soft heartbeat. He wanted to stay, to learn every song and story of this hidden people, but he knew Earth waited for his return. They set out together across the polished stone path, the first rays of the twin suns stretching long shadows behind them. Kelia matched his pace, her hand resting lightly on his forearm. As they walked, Aaron told her about Earth's sky blue by day and black by night, tanned its water which covered 2/3 of his homeworld. Kelia listened with rapt attention, her eyes shining bright as stars. When he described rain, she gasped and smiled, imagining droplets falling like tiny gifts from above. Her journey took them back through the silver forest, where creatures peered from behind glowing leaves. Aaron stopped to fill his water canteen from one of the living pools. He offered the same water to Kelia, and she drank with reverent care. To her, every drop was a promise. To him, it was life he would share with her memory. He refilled the small vessel again, careful not to spill even a single drop, knowing Kelia's people believed each drop held a world of meaning. At midday, they paused beside a clearing where the wind carried the distant sound of chimes. Aaron unpacked the satchel and offered Kelia a sweet fruit. She bit into it and closed her eyes, letting the tart juice spread warmth through her chest. She pressed her hand against his and smiled. Aaron understood then that their bond had become a living song, one that would continue even when they were apart. As they approached the ridge where Aaron's emergency ship waited hidden behind dunes, he hesitated. The wreckage lay half-buried, silent and lifeless. Kelia placed a gentle hand on his arm, encouraging him forward. Aaron knelt and laid the vessel of sacred water on a flat stone. He turned to Kelia, his voice soft. "Thank you," he said, for everything." Kelia pressed her palms to her heart and bowed deeply, then lifted her face. Tears glistened in her gemstone eyes. Aaron rose and held out his hand. Kelia took it, and for a moment they stood between two worlds, her bright horizon and his distant home. He squeezed her fingers and whispered, "We will meet again." Kelia nodded, her tears shining like morning dew. He stepped back, picked up the satchel, and turned toward his ship. Kelia watched him walk away, her figure growing smaller, against the shimmering dunes. Inside, Aaron carried more than water. He carried hope, respect, and a bond that no distance could dry. Aaron stood at the hatch of his repaired shuttle, heart heavy as he gazed back across the dunes. The twin suns dipped low, casting long shadows over the desert and lighting Kelly's silhouette in golden glow. She stood at the crest of a dune, her opal skin glimmering, the vessel of sacred water held close to her chest. Aaron raised his hand in a final farewell, felt a lump in his throat. But he smiled, determined to carry their bond forward. The engines hummed to life, and Aaron felt the shuttle tremble beneath him. As he lifted off, he watched the swirling sands blur beneath the hull. From the viewport he saw Kelly step forward, raising her arms in the ancient gesture of blessing. He returned the gesture, palm pressed to his heart. His eyes stung with tears he would not shed. He whispered into the comms, "Safe travels, my friend." Even though she could not hear the words, once clear of the atmosphere, Aaron settled into his pilot's seat. He clutched the vessel of water in one hand and placed it on the instrument panel. Its delicate carvings caught the soft light of the shuttle's controls. He thought of the first time he offered water, unaware of its deep meaning. Now he understood every drop was a thread, weaving two souls together across the stars. As the stars appeared beyond the cockpit window, Aaron activated the navigation system. His course pointed toward Earth, many light years away. He felt a pang of loneliness for the journey ahead. Yet alongside that ache was warmth, the memory of Kelly's shy smile, her gentle touch, the sound of her song echoing in the crystal grotto. He closed his eyes and let those memories fill him with strength. Over the next hours, Aaron recorded logs for Earth Command. He described Javona Prime's water rituals, the people's reverence for life's simplest gift, and the bond he formed with Kelly. He included coordinates and data on the crystal forests and healing pools, hoping future explorers might find friendship. As he did, each word carried the weight of his gratitude. When his shift ended, Aaron floated into the small living quarters. He opened the satchel Kelly had given him and withdrew the sweet dried fruits. He tasted one, the tart flavor, reminding him of her laughter. He poured a glass of recycled water and held it alongside the sacred vessel. He raised both in a quiet toast to friendship, hope, and the promise of reunion. Days passed in the steady rhythm of hyperspace. Aaron studied the vessel, tracing its carvings and feeling the coolness of its crystal. He practiced the few words of Kelly's language that she taught him: Kalaya, water, and friend. He whispered these words at night, as if sending them across the void. He dreamed of Javona Prime's glowing pools and the melody of her voice. On the final day before exit from hyperspace, Aaron prepared for the jump. He programmed Earth's coordinates and double-checked each system. As he worked, he pressed his palm to the vessel and whispered, "Until we meet again." The shuttle shuddered, and the stars stretched into lines of light. In that moment, Aaron felt both the vastness of space and the closeness of Kelly's heart. When the shuttle emerged near Earth, Aaron gazed at the blue planet spinning below. He felt awe at its ocean's water, covering more of Earth than land. He imagined Kelly standing beneath twin alien suns, longing to see Earth's rain for the first time. He vowed to bring her sample water so she could taste his world as he initiated descent. Aaron's heart brimmed with hope. He had set out to survive, but he returned with friendship that transcended worlds. He knew that distance could never dry the bonds formed by shared kindness. And somewhere beneath alien skies, an open-skinned woman believed in the magic of water and in him.